G'day everyone. Now, I'm sure at one point or another, anyone and everyone can absolutely attest that they've had a hankering for Mexican food. And because of that, you've gone down to your local grocer and you've gotten that burrito kit. Now, don't get me wrong. I do also, once in a blue moon, get a hankering for that chili con carne burrito. But I thought, you know what? Let's mix it up a little bit and make a pulled chicken burrito. It's a really straightforward dish anyone can make. And because of the proportions are quite big, it will absolutely feed the whole entire family. Alrighty, so first off the bat, you're going to be needing a large pot or Dutch oven, really whatever you've got in the house, with 3 tablespoons of a neutral oil. That could be grapeseed oil, canola oil, or vegetable oil, really whatever you've got in the house. And you're going to be putting that on a medium heat. Once the pot's heated up, you're going to be putting in a kilo's worth of chicken. I personally have been using drumsticks. Reason being is chicken on the bone, it just retains the moisture a lot longer. And because we're going to be cooking this out for a while, that is something that you're going to really be wanting. If you do have white chicken like chicken breast, that's okay. You're just going to be wanting to reduce your browning off time. Otherwise your chicken's going to get really rubbery, and that's the last thing you're really going to be wanting. After your chicken's browned off, which should take about 5 to 8 minutes on each side, you're just going to be removing that out of the pot, so that way we can be able to use that glorious crusty fondant on the bottom for our base. Okay, now that we've removed all of our chicken, we're going to move on to our base sauce. So you're going to need a tablespoon's worth of minced garlic, fresh or out of the jar, really doesn't matter, just use what you got in the household. After you've done that, you're going to be stirring it off just for a couple of minutes, just so that way we can get that raw garlicky flavor out. And then afterwards, just adding in 2 medium brown onions that have been sliced. I did have footage for the sliced onions, but that didn't go through clearly. Anyway, moving from that, you're just going to be mixing it around. I've only really cooked it through until it's become transparent. I personally would be suggesting cooking it a little bit longer, just so that way it's more caramelized and those sugars are coming out. It does show for a more robust flavoring, but each to their own. Do really what you feel is more your flavor profile. I was just more going for a clean freshness with my one. After you've done that, you're going to be needing a tablespoon's worth of smoked paprika, and as well as a tablespoon's worth of cayenne pepper. Now, I do know that sounds like a lot. However, because we've got a kilo's worth of chicken, it actually does work in our favor, because we want to make sure that we've got as much of a punch as possible. That is one of the factors that I love about Mexican food, is it's really got that kick of spiciness. I've also added in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. It's just got a really intense flavor in it, and you're really going to be needing this. Give that a stir for a couple of minutes. You just want to be able to get that plasticky flavor. I just find that is such a common factor that happens with a lot of canned or contained tomatoes. It just gets that plasticky or tinny flavor, and the only way you're going to really get rid of it is by cooking it out. I've also now added in a hand's worth of whole tomatoes. If you've watched my last video on the lamb shank lasagna where I made the ragu, just make sure to crush it up a little, so that way you've got all the tomatoey flavor, the texture is going to be kicking in. But after you've done that, a couple of cups worth of water, and just really give that a stir and heat it up until it starts to bubble and get all those flavors all well incorporated. After you've done that, you're just going to be adding in a whole bottle's worth of passata. We really do want to be able to get that tomatoey flavor out, and as well as, because I find that with a lot of cans and as well as bottles for tomatoes, you always have that little bit left over. I've just also put in half a cup's worth of water into the passata bottle, given it a quick shake up, and then poured that through. And now we're just going to give that a thorough stir through. Okay, now let's get our chicken all into our base sauce. So just stir it around, put it in as much as possible. We want to submerge all of our chicken into our base sauce, so that way it gets all the flavor, and as well as that it breaks it down with the acidity of the tomatoes, so that way we can be able to shred it. Now let's pop on that pot and wait for an hour or so. Whilst we're waiting, you're going to get some corn cobs and just slice off the corn, so that way we can be able to add that into our chili. If you don't have any fresh corn, frozen really does the trick as well. You're just going to be making sure that you're going to be cooking it a little bit less. I find that with a lot of frozen fruits and vegetables that they break down a lot more faster, and it can just make it a bit more gluggy, which is not something you really want in your sauces, unless you're of course going to be making a jam or something. But here we have it. After an hour, you can see that all the chicken has fallen off of the bone. I'm just going to start removing all of my bones here. You can go for a bit longer. I would say nothing over 2 hours, otherwise it's really going to dry out the chicken. And once you've done that, you're just going to be moving on to adding in your other extras, so your beans, your corn. So I'll just make sure I've got all the bones. Also, if you're using drumsticks, you're always going to have that one sharp bone. Please make sure to do a thorough mix through to make sure that's all removed. So I've just added in our 2 cups worth of corn. Make sure to give that a thorough stir through so that is all perfectly well incorporated into your chili. And then once you've done that, just let that cook through for a couple of minutes. I would say at most 8 minutes. It doesn't really take that long. After you've done that, you're going to be moving on to your beans. I had a couple of leftover black beans that were left in the fridge, so I'd say that was about a 1/4 cup worth. And then I had some 4 beans that I've also added into the mix. It's really not going to matter. You could use even chickpeas. Just make sure that it's canned beans, because they've been soaking for a while and it's just naturally softened up. And again, just give that a thorough stir through, and you would be just really making sure to scrape off as much as possible, so that way all those flavors are well incorporated. And after that, it's just popping it back on to a slightly higher heat. I would go back into a medium heat and reducing down your chili as much as possible. Okay, let's get assembling. So I had some leftover rice from last night's dinner. I've just been using that, so we're just going to put that up into a neat little pile. You don't ever want to put your filling on the middle. You actually want to put it slightly to the side, so that way you can perfectly roll it up. I've then also put in our chili and as well as our cheese on top, and then you're just going to be folding it and flipping and turning, and then voila, the perfect burrito. All right, so we're in our nice small fry pan here. We're going to slightly toast both the sides of our burrito. I just feel like a toasted burrito just slightly gives it that extra kick that you're needing. And once you've done that, I would say on a medium heat, about 1 to 2 minutes at most, so long as that your pan is preheated. Otherwise, just wait a little bit longer. Just quickly flip it a little bit just to see how it is going. So as you can see, that is come out perfectly toasted, and once you flipped it over, it's literally repeating the same process. Sometimes I find that with certain mixtures, if you haven't heated up the filling, that the cheese doesn't melt. If that happens, just put a lid on top and leave that for a couple of minutes, and it should heat up the cheese in the middle a little bit more easier. But there you have it. There is our pulled chicken burrito. Now, of course, I need to do a cheese pull because there was so much cheese in there that we have to see how that's come out. So I'm just gonna clean up my knife. If you can see the water in the right-hand corner. And now let's perfectly slice it through. I like to put my burrito cut on a bit of a diagonal. I don't know why, but it just looks prettier. And what is life without pretty food? But oh, look at that. Oh, perfect cheese pull. But that's it. There you have it, a pulled chicken burrito. It is fabulous. It is delicious, and it's really easy to make. Like, look at that. You could easily make this for your whole entire family. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share it, follow me, and as well as let me know if you make this chicken burrito or if you make something similar at home. I would love to see your recipes.